Welcome back to the Mental Toughness Podcast.org. .org, not com, .org. I'm Steve Seabold, your host, and I appreciate you being on the show, either watching or listening, in whatever way you consume your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Mental Toughness Podcast.org. Top right-hand side, hit subscribe. We'll notify you once a week when a new episode comes out. Okay, so today we're going to talk about adversity and mental toughness. And these two things are like the snake mongoose of performance psychology, Snakes and mongoose, not really, don't really go together really well, but they have to. It's just part of the ecosystem. And this is, in this case, the psychological ecosystem of the real way you get mentally tough is through struggle. I get questions all the time when I do mental toughness speaking tours. It's the number one question, how is it that you get mentally tough? Is it, how many books do I have to read? How many seminars like yours do I have to attend? Do I need a private coach to become mentally tough? And I always tell people the same thing. No book, no seminar, no coach can make you mentally tough. It's not the way it works. And then, people say, well, why did I pay you all this money to come to this seminar? Or why am I reading all these books? Why am I paying a coach? What's the deal? I mean, then what is this all just a sham? Well, no, it's not. What the books, seminars, coaching, whatever way you learn, you listen to a podcast like this, watch YouTube videos, whatever way you educate yourself is preparation for adversity. It prepares you for the storm. A story I tell in the Mental Toughness University seminar that I've done for a long time, 25 years, is I say, we used to live in Florida during the winter for many years until I just got sick of, we both got sick, my wife and I got sick of going back and forth. At one point we had 5 homes. And it's like you have a shirt, right? Like the shirt, just little t-shirt thing I'm wearing, and you think, I know I have that shirt and I know it's in the closet. The question is, which closet? Because you got 50 closets. It's ridiculous. I remember saying I was interviewing this billionaire down in Florida in Palm Beach one time. He was one of my neighbors, one of our neighbors, actually, and super nice guy. We were good friends. And I said, because before we got all these homes, before we got really successful financially, and I said, what is it with you rich people? Because I was kidding him, about all these houses. I go, isn't it kind of stupid? He goes, it's totally stupid. It's ridiculous. It's what you do when you have too much money. He goes, don't fall in that trap. A couple of years later, we got 5 houses. And it's crazy because you basically figure out that if they're in different states, which ours were, that you just get sick of carrying stuff to the next house. It's just kind of stupid. I guess if you're Elton John or Richard Branson or Elon Musk, I guess maybe you have a staff of people that do that for you. But if you're me, you don't. And so, you get sick of lugging stuff to one house. You're going to stay there for 3 months. You're going to stay there for the winter. Like we lived in Boynton Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida in the wintertime because it's warm. And then we lived up on Lake Lanier in the summertime because we love the lake up here in Georgia, which is fantastic. It's our favorite place in the world. And so we went back and forth. Then we had multiple properties in Florida on lakes because we were investing in lakefront property. So we go different places. But anyway, so it's the craziest thing. So we finally consolidated everything into one place. But anyway, I digress. Sorry. So when we lived down in Palm Beach County for so many years during the winter, you need to learn to deal with hurricanes. The thing about Florida is it's very transient, and people move into the neighborhood all the time. So we lived in this neighborhood down in Boynton Beach, a beautiful place called Quail Ridge. It's golf and tennis country club, beautiful place. And we had a couple of homes there, several homes there, and at certain points. And people would move in. And there'd be a hurricane on the way. And the great thing about hurricanes, if there's anything great about a hurricane, is that you get noticed. Because the hurricane center in Miami says there's a big hurricane coming toward you in 3 days. It's going to be blowing like you can't believe. So batten up the hatches. Get ready. Get water. Get gas. All the things you learn to do. And we got good at it like everybody lives in Florida gets good at it. You got to get good at it. You're going to die otherwise. And so, but people that are new, they move in from Ohio and St. Louis and Chicago and Philadelphia and Boston. And when they hear about a hurricane, they've never been through a hurricane. Inevitably, you see them at the club, you see them at the tennis court, the golf course, or they walk up to your house and they say, hey, my name's Bob. This is my wife, Susie. We just moved here from Cleveland. And we go, hi, Bob. Hi, Susie. Nice to meet you. They go, what are you doing? You go, I'm boarding up the house. The windows. Like, how many windows are you going to board up? It's like, just the ones we want to keep. Because in 3 days, it's going to be 90-mile-an-hour winds, maybe higher, and we're going to have a major, Category 4 or 5 hurricane, according to the Miami, the Hurricane Center in Miami. And they go, oh, well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's why we wanted to come up. We wanted to introduce ourselves. We've never been through a hurricane before, and they think it's like a game. And they go, and so we're gonna have a hurricane party, and we're all going to get drunk. We're going to drink tequila and margaritas, and we're going to have chips and dip and all that stuff. We want you to come down, because we want to meet the neighbors, and we're going to get drunk and watch the wind blow. So you're invited. And you don't want to be a jerk, because you're a Floridian. You don't want to be a jerk because you know this stuff, and they don't know it because they have it in Ohio. They don't get hurricanes, down in the flats in Cleveland or off Erie or Michigan. They don't get hurricanes, man. And so what we say to them is, okay, thank you for the invite. No, we will not be there. And here's what I'd strongly recommend: go gas up your cars, go get water, get food, board up all the windows that you would like to keep. Take all the plants inside and all these things. It's this laundry list you learn to do as a Floridian because, it's going to blow. It's going to blow really hard and it might get really bad. And so, and they go, oh no, and you go, yeah, please just take my word for it. And then you see them the next day and they're all disheveled and they're all stressed out like, oh my God, I had no idea hurricanes were this bad. Oh yeah, they can be really bad. We went through 4 one time in one season in Florida, 4 in a row. And we had power. We lost power for 2 weeks. I tell you, you don't appreciate power till you lose it for 2 weeks. Nothing hot, no hot food, no air conditioning. It was insane. And a lot of people moved out of Florida back then, I remember, because everyone just got sick of it. Now, it could never happen again. It was like 20 years ago. Never happened again. And but probably won't happen again for another 100 years. But we were all pretty burned out. And so the point is this, is that that's a storm, a physical storm. And when the storms of business, when the storms of your relationships, the storms of your life come through, that's what really makes you tough, is when you're enduring and surviving even the storm. You don't have to succeed in the storm necessarily. You just have to survive. Even if you're disheveled, believe me, you see the guy from Ohio, the couple, from Cleveland 5 years later in Florida, and they're vets now. They're vets. I mean, they've been going through it every season. Like, they get it now. Hurricane parties are stupid. That's for people that live not in Florida in a hurricane place because they think it's something else. They think it's fun. I mean, I watched a tree in one of our backyards in one of the properties we had in Florida, literally a tree that probably been there for 50 or 60 years, just go down, just crack right on the base and go down because of the wind. I thought, you'd have thought the earth was cracking. It was so loud. And I remember because I had a double vodka. I was sitting there and standing next to the window, which was really stupid now that I think about it. My wife was in New York at the U.S. Open watching the tournament, tennis tournament. And I was standing there and I remember standing against the window watching this thing and hearing that crack going, that tree is actually going to go down. And of course, it could have fallen right on the house, and it didn't, luckily. That was a condo, actually. It could have fallen right on the building, but it didn't, luckily. But the point is this. Mental Toughness books, seminars, articles, blogs, videos, podcasts like this, they give you tools to prepare for the storm. Like boarding up the windows, like getting the gas, getting water, getting food, all those things that you do to prepare for the storm. They prepare you for the storm, but ultimately, the storm is what makes you tough. Adversity. See, there is no mental toughness without struggle. And I wish that was not true, because no one likes the struggle, including yours truly. I mean, who does, right? I mean, I remember going through COVID. I had COVID twice. And the first time I got it, I didn't really think I was going to die. But the 5th week of it, it crossed my mind, because I thought, I can't get out of bed. I lost 22 pounds in 2 weeks, and I did not move out of bed except to crawl to the bathroom, because that's all I could do. I didn't eat anything. I mean, I drank water because my wife forced it down my throat because she had to, and I slept, and I just sweated. I'm just, just brushing the flop sweat off my body, and I'm just laying in bed. I mean, it was when people said, oh, I was so mad when people said, oh, it's like the flu. That was in the early days. I got it right away. And it was early days, and people said, oh, it's like the flu. Oh, really? I've had the flu. I've been around the block a bit. I've had the flu for a lot of times. For 57 years, I've had my share of the flu. It's not the flu. Now, maybe you get a light dose of it. It's like the flu. Mine was clearly not like the flu. I thought, boy, at the end, I thought I might not make it. I don't know about this. And my doctor was calling me every day. And he said, if it goes into your lungs, you're going to the hospital. Otherwise, we're keeping you out of the hospital. I said, if I go to the hospital, I don't know if I'm coming out. He goes, I don't either. That's why if it goes into your lungs, luckily it never did. I was very fortunate. I lost 8 friends. I've got a big circle of people that I know, and from traveling and working a lot and in a lot of places, and 8 friends died over the time. And one of them almost died, and he came out of it, luckily. But he was in the hospital for almost 100 days. $2 million medical bill. Crazy, And so, but the storm is what makes you tough. And that really kind of made me tougher than I was before because, I was laying in bed. I remember about the 4th week of COVID, and I was thinking, if you got to feel like this, like I'm talking to myself, if I have to feel like this all the time from now, because you just don't know if you're going to get over it. 4 weeks is a long time, or it was for me. And if I got to feel like this all the time, it's not worth being alive. I mean, you feel terrible. Every time you wake up, you're just sweating and your fever's, crazy. And you just start to think, all these little things that I worried about before are not very important anymore. Because now I'm just struggling to survive. Now it's a different game. That's what makes you tough. You go through a divorce and you think, I won't make it through that. I've never been through a divorce, but I've had a lot of friends that have been through. And they say, a lot of them were so tight with their spouse and then they get divorced. Someone, does something or something happens. They fall in love, whatever it is. And they say it's just like hell. I mean, it's a living hell and you feel terrible. And when they come out of it, they get tougher. My cousin was in Vietnam and he got shot and he went through a lot of stuff in Vietnam. I remember saying to him one time, he did multiple tours and he made it. He was never the same, I will say. A great guy. And but he said to me one time, I said, do you wish you wouldn't have ever gone? He said, I wouldn't give up that experience for the world because it made me tough. He goes, it made me see life a totally different way. That's what adversity does. It makes you mentally tough. It's not the books. It's not the tapes. It's not the recordings. It's not the YouTube videos, the podcasts. It's none of this stuff. This stuff hopefully prepares you for the storm. But the storm is what makes you tough. That's why the older you get, the tougher you get mentally. Because you've been through so much shit that, it just makes you tougher. I mean, bottom line, you just get stronger because you have to just to live that long. And that's why you see these older people. I mean, my mother's 92 years old, and she's one of the toughest people I know. I mean, she can't weigh more than 110 pounds. She's very, very small and thin, and 92, but tougher than nails. I have an aunt that's 90. She'll be 96. Actually, this month in a couple of weeks. So 96 years old. My dad's twin sister, tough as nails. You live to be 96. You've seen some stuff. You've been through some stuff, like every kind of thing you can imagine. You've been through. You've had money. You've had no money, probably. Like her. You've had kids. You've had trouble with this, trouble with that. You've seen a lot, and it just gets you stronger and stronger. No one likes to go through it, but it's what makes you tough. And so none of us go looking for a fight. Only an idiot goes looking for a fight. That's just stupid. But the fight finds us in life. And it finds us in sports, and it finds us in, relationships, and it finds us in business. It finds us in finances. It finds us. That's just what life is. It's a series of struggles, but that's the thing that makes you tough. So am I saying to look for and welcome adversity? Well, if I did, I'd be a hypocrite because I don't welcome it and I don't look for it. I'm looking for as smooth a water as I can get, man. I've had lots of it like everybody else, but it's coming anyway. And so maybe we don't want it, we don't welcome it, we don't embrace it, but just know when you're going through it, I know it's not fun. Again, we all just went through COVID. I mean, and at some level, we're still going through it, but I think we're all kind of moved on at some level to realize that this is the way it is, and, we can only do so much, and I think everyone's kind of just had it with it, including me. I'm right there with it. After the second time, luckily I got the shot and I was vaccinated 3 times, and the next time I got it, which is weird, so I still got it, but it was nothing compared to the first time. It was so much easier than the first time. Still was worse than the flu, but much better than the first time. And so you don't look for it, but just know that if you're going through it right now, you might be going through an easy time in your life, And I know what that's like. I went through years of easy times, and I've gone through some years of hard times, like everybody else. We all go through the same kind of thing, I think, for the most part. And just know if you're going through an easy time, you don't have to worry about this. But it will turn, right? Things are cyclical. Things go up and down. Or if you're going through it, if you're in the heat of it right now, and that's why you're listening to this podcast, you're going, Seabold, I need this podcast because I'm going through hell. It's like, I feel for you. Understand that, we're all one consciousness at the end of the day without being too philosophical. But, we all know what it feels like to be a sentient, being, and what the pain of adversity is. I get it, and I feel for you, believe me, because we've all been there. But understand that while it's certainly not a great experience, it's making you tougher by the day. And the worse you're going through it, the worse it is, the tougher you're getting. And that is not a philosophy. That's not positive thinking. That's reality. That's how emotional creatures become hardened in the best sense of the word hardened. I don't mean hardened like you're blocked off to life, like you're not emotional, like you don't feel things, like you don't have empathy. I don't mean that. I mean hardened in the sense that something happens and you go, this too shall pass. One of my few Bible quotes. I don't quote the Bible very often, although I've read it 3 times all the way through over the years. I'm not a big quoter of the Bible, but that is a great passage. This too shall pass, because it will pass. And if it doesn't, you're going to die. So you won't have to worry about it anyway. But otherwise, it will pass, and then it'll smooth out. The waters will smooth, and it'll come again, right? I was playing a tennis match at the mansion here at the mansion the other night, and I love playing on the mansion court because I dreamed of having my own court in my backyard for years and years as a tennis player. And it's a Hard-True court, and it's beautiful, and it's just exactly what I wanted. I built it exactly. It cost me twice as much as a normal court. I built it exactly to my specs because I dreamed about it my whole life, and I wanted to have it. And so I have it now. And I was playing with a friend of mine. We were playing under the lights, and it was beautiful at night and everything. And he was beating me. And I thought it was interesting that I could have cared. I just couldn't have cared less that I was playing terribly. And I was sore because I don't play that much anymore like I used to. And I was terrible. I was horrible playing, just terrible. And I was laughing and he was laughing and we were having a great time. And I couldn't have cared less what the score was. And I tell you, I don't think I can count too many times in my life of playing tennis for 50 years. I've played tennis for 50 years. And literally 50 years. Since 1971. This will be my 52nd year. It's crazy. And I can't count too many times, I didn't care about the score. But I didn't care about the score because I was out there playing, on my own court, in my own backyard that I dreamed about, at my estate, and having a good time playing as bad as I was. And I didn't have COVID, and I didn't have any big problem looming over me for that moment. And if whatever problems I had, I compartmentalized. And I was just having a good time, just living and playing and, playing a game. Thinking about in Ukraine, they're trying to survive. They're trying to eat and drink water and stay alive while the Russians are acting like complete morons and trying to kill them all. I don't have that problem, luckily, and so how fortunate are we not to be in that situation? I feel for the Ukrainians. We have a lot of clients that are from Ukraine, from Kiev, and they're great people, and I feel for them. But I didn't have that problem that night. I was having a good time, and I think that adversity brings that out. Because you get to the point, you toughen up so much that when things are good or they're even close to good, you really enjoy the process. You're grateful for the nice things in life or the peaceful times in life or when you can really enjoy it, because you can't always. But when you do, you appreciate those times because they're just moments. Nothing's forever in life. And so something to think about. So to wrap this up in a bow, I just want to say, understand that, again, I'm not telling you to embrace adversity because like I said, I'm be a hypocrite because if I could do it, if I was tough enough to say embrace adversity, like a Navy SEAL says, what do they call it? Embrace the suck. That's what they say. I'm not a Navy SEAL. Okay, those guys are tougher than me, but I'm not embracing it. Adversity. I'm not welcoming it. I got certain parts of my life that have had some adversities like everybody does right now, all the time, right? There's always something going on. I'm not embracing it. I want it to go away. And I want it to go away yesterday, like fast, because I'm not embracing it. So I'm not encouraging you to do that. If you're tough enough to do it, God bless you. I'm not. But at least understand that when you're going through the crap, you are gaining a benefit, whether you feel it or not, and you probably don't feel it. You won't feel it till later, but you are getting tougher. I guarantee it. That's the way human beings work. That's the way emotional creatures are built. We get tougher with adversity. It's the only way we get tougher. It's just not very fun to do. It's not a fun process, But that's how the sausage is made. It really is. I mean, the proverbial sausage is made through stress and struggle and adversity and crap and all that stuff. You come out the other side and you get tougher, and that means you're happier more of the time than you would be when you weren't as tough, because you appreciate the good times. Something to think about. Okay. Again, I appreciate you guys. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of podcasts. My God, there's a gazillion podcasts. I appreciate you listening to this one. I love to get your feedback. Remember to subscribe at mentaltoughnnesspodcast.org, not .com, .org, mentaltoughnnesspodcast.org. Subscribe on the top right, and we'll send you the email about the next episode. And next time, we're going to talk about some really exciting stuff that I think you guys really like. So I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.